All right. So this is going to be another hard video to, just going to be another hard video to film. Forever I thought that if I held somebody's secrets, and I would hold people's secrets because I didn't want them to be embarrassed and I didn't want people to find out the truth. But recent years, I've realized like, those are not my secrets to hold. They're not my secrets to bear. I didn't do anything wrong. And finally, like, I'm just ready to talk. So this is going to be a story about how I found out my boyfriend at the time, was cheating on me with my best friend. So I'm going to kind of start at the beginning. I'm going to give you a little bit of like some details about the relationship with both him and her, and just kind of how it led to where it was, and kind of the crazy way I found out about them having an affair. So he was in the military when I met him, and I was getting out of my marriage, and he was getting out of his marriage, and you know, that's kind of where it started. And when he got out of the military, he was living in Tennessee and I was living in Colorado. And he had moved out here to be with me. And probably maybe a year after he moved out here or so, I opened up the gym. And he was a part of that, but he wasn't a huge part of it. So he didn't even have his level 1, but he would help with some things, you know, as you would if help your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever out with stuff. So things were, you know, good at the beginning. And I like thought like he kind of like worshiped the ground I walked on, and you know, that's how he treated me. And you know, that's how I felt at the beginning, but we'll keep moving on. So the biggest thing I can probably say looking back at my life and my relationships is that they say your picker's off. My picker is off. I've just had a run of bad luck with men, and I think that maybe I don't hold on to the relationships that I should hold on to, and I get into the relationships I shouldn't hold on to, and I don't know. For some reason, I think I pick men that have abandonment issues, mommy issues, that quote unquote need to be fixed, that something's wrong with them, because I think that I can fix them, and I can't in the end. And like my previous video before where I talked about my boyfriend that was an alcoholic, this guy also had a drinking problem, but it wasn't like where he was drinking all the time. It was every time he would drink, he would just drink to excess, and he would get so drunk that he would just take off running all over Colorado Springs, and you wouldn't be able to find him. He would just like randomly show up on the doorstep the next day, and sometimes he would have like kind of similar to other like weird injuries or injuries to his foot. Like I remember one time he pulled his sock up, it was caked in blood. That wasn't like all the time, and he didn't drink all the time. It was just like when he would drink, he couldn't stop, and it would end up in that kind of situation. But anyways, so I was with him for 6 years, and I'm not going to say the relationship was great, because it wasn't. He was kind of like a jerk, not always to me, but to other people. He was an asshole, and you know, and it took me getting out of the relationship and looking back to realize, you know, he was one, and he was not a very nice person. But anyways, so we'll go ahead and talk about the girl that was to become my best friend, and then later to, you know, I guess she cheated on me, whatever. She broke my heart, essentially. So shortly after I opened the gym, this girl joined up the gym, and I think she was kind of like, didn't have a great self-esteem at that point. And I kind of like all my people I get to see for a long time, you know, I got to see her kind of like transform into a new, more confident person. She would eventually get her level 1, and she would eventually start coaching for me. So, and I would say that she was like my head coach, pretty much. Like she was the one who coached like the most amount of hours. She was the only coach I had on salary. Like I really took care of her. I really cared about her a lot, and I wanted her to be happy. So I did a lot of things. I went out of my way to make her happy, just like I did with my my ex. But anyways, so I remember several times always saying about my boyfriend to this girl, I never ever have to worry about him cheating on me. I would always say that. I just don't think I ever have to worry about him cheating on me. But, you know, and we'll talk about a little bit about like, I truly think like she was like the epitome of like a narcissist, because as she got more confident in herself, she started getting this thing where she would want men, all the men had to pay 100% attention to her, and if they were paying attention to any other female, she would get upset, or she would try to manipulate them to only like pay attention to her. There was a situation for a short period of time that I had got out of the relationship with this guy way previous to him cheating on me, and I had been talking to another guy. Come to find out, like partway through us talking, she starts talking to this guy. So just to kind of give you an example, like she didn't like that some guy was paying attention to me or whatever. So, yeah. So I'll keep going on about it. One other example of that is there was a guy at our gym that had asked her to go on a hike or a date or something like that, and I don't think she did or whatever, but he ended up going out with this other girl and getting in a long-term relationship with that girl, and then eventually marrying her. And even after they had got married, they'd been in this long relationship, whatever, she would always bring up the fact, well, he asked me out first, like he wanted me first. And it was like, who the fuck cares? Like it always had to be about her, and every guy had to be interested in her. So anyways, and the other thing is, I knew that she was promiscuous. She was married at the time, but I also knew that her husband was promiscuous, and I thought, okay, maybe they have an open relationship. I'm not judging. She wasn't like interfering with anybody else's relationship. She wasn't, you know, with any married guys or anything like that. But or guys in relationships. So I didn't even worry about it. It was like, okay, I'm gonna let her do her thing. None of my fucking business. So, let's kind of keep going, moving on. So, you know, I'm with my boyfriend again. We had that little brief breakup, whatever. We're back together, you know, talking about getting married, talking about all this stuff like that. But, and I, you know, I keep saying things were starting to get weird at home. And he was just being more and more secretive, and he was taking the dogs out on the walk, more and more walks, and which is fine. I was like, oh great, awesome, he's taking the dogs on more walks. But and then he, every time, you know, maybe I wasn't feeling great or whatever, he would be like, oh, I'll go to the gym for you, I'll coach for you, and offering to like do all this stuff for me. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome, this is great. Like, you know, just thought that he's like being a good dude. And then there was a competition coming up. And my best friend at the time had said to me, oh, you know, nobody asked me to be their partner. You know, I want to do this competition, but nobody's asked me to be their partner. So I asked my boyfriend to be her partner for this competition. I said, ask her, you know, she's really upset that nobody wants to be her partner. Like, could you please ask her to be your partner for the competition? So he does, and they plan to do it. And something happened. I don't know if she said she got sick, but I don't think she did. I think she felt sick, like inside, not like actually sick. And she stepped away from doing the competition at the last minute. And also previously to this, with all the weird stuff that was going on. Okay, this story is gonna be all over the place. I just realized it, but we're just gonna deal. So previously to all this going on, I had kept telling her, I think he's seeing somebody else. I think he's seeing somebody else. I don't know, but I have a feeling that he's seeing somebody else. And she would always kind of like, you know, why do you think that? And kind of like try to like dissipate my fear. I don't know the word. I'm trying to squelch my fears. I don't know. Anyway, so at one point where I kept thinking that he was seeing somebody else is we always would have access to each other's phones. Like I would, my phone would be in the other room charging, so I would grab his phone. I'd be like, "Oh, this is Tammy texting you from blah blah blah's phone," and da 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 da. And he would always just let me have the phone, and I would grab it and all the time. Well, one day I went to go grab it, and he immediately yanked it away from me. And I said, "Oh, I need to message such and such," and he's like, No, I don't remember what he said, but it all escalated to him snapping his phone in half. He literally snapped his phone in half, so I couldn't look at it. And I wasn't like I was snooping. I never thought I had a reason to snoop until probably about then. It was just, I was using his phone to text. So anyways, so yes, I'm getting more suspicious. I'm like, what's going on? Never, ever, ever did I suspect this girl. And I said to him, I don't know what brought it up, but I'm like, this girl would never do anything to hurt me. I know it already. Like I said that to him. I remember saying that to him. So the day of this competition, so they don't do the competition. He comes with me. I think I did it with another girl. And he just kind of shows up to kind of like spectate and whatever. And I think we get in a fight that day because he's acting kind of shady. He's acting like this or whatever. So I'm like, screw this. I'm not dealing with this today. So I go to hang out with a bunch of my friends. And then we go out to like a bar or club afterwards. And I never drink. Still, I never drink. But I'll drink sometimes. When I say never, I mean sometimes. Very rarely. But I got pretty drunk that night because I was just, you drinking away your feelings. I was upset about the situation, whatever. And one of my good friends, I said, "Oh, I don't want to go home tonight." So one of my good friends offers to give me a ride. And I say, "Hey, give me a ride to my best friend's house. Take me over there. I'm going to stay the night there because I do not want to go home. I need to be with somebody else." So I get to her house, and I maybe didn't call her ahead of time, or maybe I tried to call her ahead of time and she wasn't available. I don't know. But anyways, I come to her house and she's getting all dressed up and ready to go out. And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I have a date with this one guy," and tell me about this guy she has a date with. And I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever, that's whatever." And she keeps getting ready for the date. And I'm like, okay. And her brother was there, and he had like a little crush on me. So I was like hanging out with her brother and talking to him and stuff like that. But yeah, she's getting ready for this date, and I keep saying, "Oh, I can't get a hold of my boyfriend. I can't get a hold of my boyfriend. I wonder where he is." Like, I was worried about him because, he had like where he would drink and run around town and act crazy. And so later on the night, I'm like, I can't get a hold of him on his cell phone. But I was thinking, and because again, we kind of shared everything, I was like, "Oh, I have his Facebook password. So I'm wondering if he's on Facebook or whatever." Or I was like, I'm going to try to get a hold of him on Facebook. So I had logged into his Facebook. And she didn't know. She was upstairs in her bedroom getting ready for her date or whatever. So I logged into the Facebook, and all of a sudden I see these messages going back and forth between her and him. And she's up in the bedroom. I'm downstairs in her basement. And it's, "Can you leave now?" And she's like, "I'm going to wait till she goes to sleep." And he's like, "Well, just hop the back fence and leave. She'll never know." And just all these crazy things like going back and forth about, like her leaving tonight to go see him. And the plan was for her to leave that night to go see him. So that was the date that she was getting ready for, was to go see him. And I'm reading this, and she's upstairs, and I am freaking out, obviously freaking out. And I run up in her room, and I throw my phone down or my iPad or whatever I had, and I said, tell me it's not true. Tell me this isn't, tell me this isn't true. Tell me it's not true. And she's like, what? And I said, tell me this isn't true. And I'm, obviously freaking out and yelling, and it's great. Like, not yelling. I wasn't yelling. I was just freaking out and like in complete disbelief at that point that she was the one that he had been seeing all that time, and the one that I thought that he was with. And he came that night in a taxi because he had been drinking, and picked me up from her house. And I don't know where my car is at that point, but so he came to pick me up in a taxi. The feeling, I mean, I know other people have been through this, but like the feeling of being both betrayed by, like, basically your two best friends, but basically by your best friend and your boyfriend at the same time. Like, I felt completely hollow, like that hollow, dead inside feeling. Like I felt, I don't even know how to describe how I felt, but it was just like an empty, sick feeling. I couldn't eat for days. Like I was still in shock. And so later, and at this point, honestly, I didn't know the extent of everything. I just thought, and maybe he told me that or she told me that it was just like an emotional relationship. But so I actually sat both of them down and forgave both of them. I forgave both of them, and I said, this can't be like this anymore. Like the only interactions you guys can have now can only be like gym related. Like, I'm gonna forgive you guys. And plus her son, I don't know if I mentioned this, her son was my son's best friend. And they were like attached at the hip, and they would message each other every night on their Wii U's and do all, they were best friends. But so that was just more like icing on the cake for the whole thing. So I forgave both of them, and I basically said, hey, you guys can't communicate like for any other reason but gym related, and and they both kind of agreed and whatever. Well, probably like 3 or 4 months later, I found out they were communicating again, and that was it. Like, I was fucking done. And later, my boyfriend, but she never admitted a damn thing, but my boyfriend at the time, ex-boyfriend, admitted that they were having a sexual relationship, and that they would meet up at the gym, and they had sex in her car, and they had sex in the gym, and they had like just wherever they could, they did it. And she had never admitted anything. She never said she was sorry. He at least apologized to me. But again, I've always been like this. I've always been trying to be like a forgiving, understanding person. And I always thought, like, what the hell is going on in her life that would make her want to do this? Especially to somebody who I've been there for her, and loved her and wanted to take care of her, and, as a friend. And I still feel for her, because I just don't know all the horrible things that possibly could be going on. And he also didn't have a great childhood or anything like that. So again, I just always was empathetic to them, and I'm still empathetic to them. But and let's talk about this again. She obviously stopped coaching at my gym at this point. It took me a year to tell anybody what had happened, because I didn't want to cause drama, and I didn't want anybody to be angry with her. And she left the gym, and I only had one other person that left with her, because they didn't know the story. And that person later came back to the gym. But I just would tell people, oh, she got busy with her other job, and and she needed to take a break. Like, I would just make up all these excuses for her, because I didn't want to tell people what really happened. But like I said, they're not my secrets to bear, and I didn't do anything wrong. So there's no reason for me to hold it. So so found out they were having an affair, found out, they were sleeping together, found out I was stupid and naive for believing either one of them. But that's the way I found out my ex-boyfriend was cheating with my best friend. It makes it all feel better, does it? Makes it feel like heaven, does it? You loved it and you spent accordingly. Can't afford it now. You tried and you failed. You loved it like a little dog. You feed it on the scraps you find, and you kiss it while you're still asleep. You buy now and pay later. If I hadn't left early last night, I would have made a speech to you, 'cause you're not the only one that you're going to hurt. If you don't believe me, I don't believe in you. If you don't believe me, I don't believe in you. There's a girl going crazy about you, and I'm not far behind. Do you care about your friends anymore?